Good afternoon. My name is Takiwa Smith, founder and executive director of Science, Engineering, and Mathematics Link Incorporated. And I want to welcome you to our STEM in the City workshop. The purpose of our Math and Science Career Academy STEM in the City workshop is to expose you to careers in earth and environmental sciences by giving you an opportunity to meet, um, learn about the career paths and journeys of earth and environmental scientists, and most importantly, see the work that they do in the field, because the majority of them do work in the field or do work to interpret data that was taken in the field. And so, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our program coordinator, Carlin Pounders, who is going to introduce our speaker.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this Saturday afternoon. So today's speaker is Alex Troutman. He's a wildlife biologist and environmental educator with a passion for sharing and immersing the younger generation into nature. He has a bachelor's degree from Georgia Southern University, which he received in 2014, and he is currently pursuing a master's degree in conservation biology from Georgia Southern. Knowing what it feels like to not see anybody who looks like you doing the things you enjoy, Alex makes it a point to be that representation for the younger generation. Alex is the co-organizer for several Black and X Weeks, including Black Birders Week, Black Mammalologist Week, and Black in Marine Science Weeks. They are a part of a movement encouraging diversity in nature, celebration of Black individuals as scientists, and increasing awareness of Black nature enthusiasts, and diversity in STEM fields. So yesterday we had the wonderful opportunity to learn about birds as it relates to their migration patterns. Definitely encourage you to check out the replay when it's posted if you were not in attendance. But that was such a great prelude to today's workshop, where we're then going to talk about their birds' eating habits. Because as I said in the message that was sent out, birds actually migrate for food and not necessarily because of the cold weather. So with that being said, Alex, I'm ready to turn it over to you if you're ready to go.
Yes, I'm ready. All right. My screen here. All right. Can you guys hear me? All right. So my name is Alex Troutman. I'm a wildlife biologist, environmental educator, and science communicator. So a little bit about me. I'm from Austell, Georgia, and I'm the Chief Management Officer of Black and Marine Science Week. So that is an organization for Black Marine Sciences that are, we're here to pretty much say that we're here to amplify Black and Marine Sciences, to show that although there's a lack of diversity in the marine science field, there's a space for everyone, including Black marine scientists in the field. And not only that, we're also there to amplify and connect the younger generations of Black and marine sciences to leaders and people in the career field that they want to be in. So we're trying to be that representation that many of us as marine scientists didn't have when we were younger. So we're trying to give back and show that we are here, and if you want to be a marine scientist, you can go for it. Here's a representation that we are out here for you. So I'm also an early career Launchpad fellow for the Safano Center. With my fellowship with the Safano Center, I will be using some of the opportunities to conduct my research on Seaside Sparrows. We'll learn a little bit about that later on. But also, I will be using my fellowship to engage in the younger generation in the outdoors and show them what nature is about and why I'm passionate about it. And currently, I'm a graduate student at Georgia Southern University. So I graduated from Georgia Southern University as an undergrad in 2014, and now I'm back here to get my master's degree. All right, so a little bit about my path to become a wildlife biologist and marine scientist. I started out doing a lot of field work, volunteer and hands-on experience. I was a farmhand in college for a organic free-range cattle and chicken farm. I did that for about 3 years while I was conducting and trying to finish up my biology degree. And once I graduated from there, I went on to work with the Student Conservation Association and Allegheny County Parks as a park ranger. So that was my first real experience with environmental education and just working in the outdoors in general, besides working at the farm. So I was able to see what this field was all about. Like growing up, I always knew that I wanted to be a wildlife biologist, but I didn't really have that exposure. There wasn't representation of anybody who looked like me that was a wildlife biologist. Like I love CR and I really wanted to do the same things he was doing, but for the longest time growing up, the only profession that people who look like me were doing was they're either a vet or they're working on the farm. So that's the only exposure I had of people looking like me working with animals. So the longest time I thought I was going to be a vet until I got to college and started learning about all the different other opportunities that are out there. Um, so I wanted to make that work. So I switched my major from veterinary to been just general biology and took a lot of field classes in order to get the experience I needed. So like I said, after I graduated, I did a couple internships with the Student Conservation Association and AmeriCorps, and then I got kind of a big break. I accepted two positions. One was with Zoo Atlanta as a educator and animal handler, and then the other was with the Georgia Aquarium as an environmental educator. So during those positions, I would give conservation messages to individuals that would come to either the zoo or the aquarium. And then with the zoo, I would present tractable animals, so animals that were able to be go out to schools and other small organizations in order to teach them about the natural world and also about ways to help conserve conserve the earth. So with this little animal right here is lesser hedgehog teneret. So the lesser hedgehog lets us know that it's actually not a hedgehog, but it looks similar to it, and it's a teneret. So these guys are from Madagascar. They are mammals, and it looks like he's spiky, but he doesn't really have spikes. So those are modified hairs. So after I did that for about 2 years of working at the zoo and doing an internship with AmeriCorps, I finally got a break and I accepted a position with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And I did that for a year before a new administration came in and cut down the funding that was available. So I lost my job and it gave me the opportunity to apply to this position with the National Park Service. With this position, I wasn't really sure it was like for me. Like I wanted it, but I wasn't sure if I was qualified for it. But I shot my shot and didn't let the qualifications that I didn't believe I have deter me from that position. So I applied and I got this position with the National Park Service. working with sea turtles. So our main focus were Kemp's Ridley sea turtles down on the Padre Island National Seashore. It's off of Texas, Corpus Christi, Texas. So we were there to protect these sea turtles. Kemp's Ridley sea turtles are critically endangered. So six of the species of sea turtle that are around the United States coast, they're all endangered, and this one is critically endangered. It's the smallest sea turtle species, and the cool fact about it, it's one of the only sea turtles that actually nest in the day. Other sea turtles nest during the nighttime, but these guys actually nest during the daytime. And here's a quick little video showing one. I said the close. I apologize. Showing one that is returning back to the water after laying.
Alex,
Sea
I can't
turtle,
hear
the Beetles kind of shell it, returning back to the nest after that laid its eggs. So in the video, the picture above, you can see that I'm watching this sea turtle. She is in her what she's digging her nest. She's actually at the point of laying. So with that, what we do in order to help protect these sea turtles and ensure that they'll be around for not only like their future generations to combat the kids that are growing up, like we make sure that they are here. So what we're going to do is watch them as they're nesting. So we're taking biological samples to get any genetic information from them, and we're measuring their shell size. We're looking for any tags that they have on them. So all these sea turtles, if they nested before at Padre Island, that's the seashore, they will have three different tags. They'll have two metal tags. They'll be on the front. One will be on the front flipper, and the other one will be on the back flipper. These metal tags are a unique code to each sea turtle. So the metal tags are 6 digits. They're either going to be like three letters and three numbers. So it can be A, B, C, 1, 4, 5, and that'll correspond to that one sea turtle. And then they also have a electronic tag, which is around 12 randomly numbers and letters that we will scan with a pit tag scanner in order to see where this turtle is this turtle have been to the island before. So the tags let us know pretty much who the turtle is, and if the turtle does not have tags on it, we will input tags on it so we can know who it is when it comes back to nest in the future years. All right, so um, after my position with the National Park Service, I went on to work in several self-contracted positions. So one of those positions was working with the University of Texas and Missouri State as a bat biologist. So I went over to Sabah, Malaysia, which is on the island of Borneo. It's a cool thing about that island. It's actually three different countries have like territorial claims on the island. So there's Malaysia, and then up above that is Brunei, and then in the southern part of the island it's Indonesia. So I was in the Malaysian part, and I was looking at the biodiversity of the bats in Crocodile National Forest. And so with that, it was a lot of waking up early and staying up late um, in order to sample the bat species that was in the park. So one of the cool things about this experience was knowing how the bats were flying around. It was pretty cool to first the experience of me not actually having experience working with bats to being a little bit discouraged trying to figure out what I was doing to actually getting bats and getting the techniques down was pretty like very it was like developmental and encouraging because like we're going up the mountain every day looking for these bats. So it's kind of like I'm starting out at the bottom of the mountain, not really having much experience with bats, and then as I got more experience, I was climbing up on the mountaintop, now knowing a great deal of information about the bats and about the sampling techniques. So it was kind of like similar to like us growing up, like waking up early to set up with traps for the bats, starting out at the very base of the mountain, and then every week we would move the traps up to a different area. So eventually we were able to cover pretty much the whole mountain. So that was interesting to see and go through that. And then from working with the bats, I left that and went to a endangered species observer. So endangered species observer is someone who goes on a dredging boat. So dredging ships are the ships that go after hurricanes and dig up sand to throw back on the beach. Or if a state experienced a lot of erosion before hurricanes, we'll go and dig up sand and throw it back on the beach for them. But my job was to actually monitor any sea life that was coming in close contact with the boat. So if there was any like whales or manatees that was in the vicinity of the boat, I would have to tell the captain that he needs to slow down or stop and let the manatee or whale pass. But also, if we were digging and the boat was picking up sea turtles, so they was digging up sea turtles, I would have to first let the captain know that we're picking up sea turtles. So we have to look at why we're picking them up. There's a dredge head, so the digging instrument has TEDs on, which are turtle exclusion devices. That my job was to check every time to see if the devices were still in working order. And then after that, I would have to check the actual boat to see if there was any turtles in the boat. So when the sand has been dug up, it goes through different boxes to filter it out. And some of those boxes, sea life, marine animals could get caught in there. My job was to check the boxes to make sure that there weren't any sea turtles in there, and if there were, if they were still alive, to get them ashore as quick as can to rehab center. But if they were dead, to figure out if they were dead from natural causes or if the ship had caused it, and then make note of that. And then after my endangered species position, now I do a lot of environmental education. I work with school groups to teach different nature and conservation messages to individual classes that are interested in the outdoors, and also to just let them know that they even as young as them, they can be wildlife biologists, they can be an outdoor scientist, and just to be that representation that I didn't have when I was younger. Like I said, growing up, who I saw on TV working with animals were people that didn't look like me. It was Jeff Corrin, Steve Irwin, all who were great conservation scientists. But they were both white. They weren't black. So it really didn't um, touch me to see them. It was like, oh, that's cool. But I know, like from experience, like seeing other individuals who look like me doing the same thing, it definitely like changes the mood and encourages me more so than seeing an individual who didn't look like me doing a position that I wanted. All right, so now my current role is a graduate student at Georgia Southern University. So my main task is helping out in the freshwater ecology lab. So I'm going out sampling different, like we have an experimental wetland where we are looking at the effects of temporary wetland, and we're trying to see how different arthropods and macroinvertebrates communities are like colonizing those temporary wetlands as they are draining or flooding, depending on what season it is. So we are able to go out and control the draining and flooding of these wetlands to see what is going on. And how we're doing that is we're taking leaf packs in order to see what's in there. We take leaf packs and throw them into the wetlands as they're being flooded. And then eventually, after they drain, we'll go out and get them and see what macroinvertebrates that live in the water are colonizing them. So we'll go through and see how much of the debris the leaves have been ate. Then we'll break it down and see what individual organisms are in on those leaf packs. So we'll see like if there's dragonfly larvae in there or any other species of macroinvertebrates. And then my project as my own project as for my thesis is looking at the diets of seaside sparrow nestlings. So my project is titled "Who Doesn't Love Snacks?" So basically, I'm looking to see what seaside sparrows are feeding to their babies, the nestlings, and then secondarily, I'll be looking at how what's available like as a whole to them in the salt marsh. So not only what they're eating, but what's available throughout the whole salt marsh for them to feed to their nestlings. So it's kind of like if I go to your house, like I see you eating pizza, bet I know that you're eating pizza, but I also want to know what else is available for you. So I will go in your cabinets and your refrigerator and see what's everything that you could be eating, and not just the pizza, but everything that you could be eating. While so that's what I'll be doing. So basically, not only seeing what they're eating, but seeing everything that's available to them to eat. And I'll be doing this through several different methods. So one of the methods will be to be looking at videos of what they're eating. I'll get on to that later on, but a little bit more about the seaside sparrows. So the seaside sparrows, there's 7 subspecies of them. I'll be working with the McGivery, which is down here in the Georgia Salt Marsh. So these guys are actually like long-term residents of Florida, so they don't actually migrate. They're there for throughout their whole life. They don't leave and go somewhere else, but they utilize the salt marsh throughout their entire lives. Whereas other birds will fly up north or fly up south, fly down south, depending on the season. They migrate. Seaside sparrows, they do not migrate, so they're there just like I'm from Georgia. I'm always here. I don't go up to New York when it gets hot down here, or if I was in New York, I don't come down to Georgia when it gets cold up there. I'm stuck in the marsh, so these guys do not migrate like other birds do. But the seaside sparrow, like I said, it lives in the tidal salt marsh, and the way that I'm gonna be able to see what they're eating and I'll bring back to the nest is first I have to find the nest. So I'll be looking at the adults, seeing when they're like making displays. So while I'm searching for the nest, I'm looking for those cues to see if the adults are either like making calls to alerting their mate that I'm around, or if they're making other cues. And then also I'm also like from observing to see just see where they're going. So if I observe them, see them like diving down in the channel, I assumed that there's going to be a nest there. So the seaside sparrows, they nest in the salt marshes and they nest along the channel. Let's see. All right. So the seaside sparrow, they will nest along these channels in the salt marsh. So the salt marsh, it's a wetland that is flooded and drained by salt water, and it's usually twice a day. So it happens around, like, not officially 12 and a half hours, but pretty much almost 12 and a half hours. It's like 12 hours and 23 minutes or so. But it floods twice a day, depending on the tide. So the bottom picture is what it will look like when it's drained. So the water goes all the way out, and then the top picture is what it looks like flooded. So I go out while it's low tide, while the water is drained, to look for these nests that are along these channels. So I'm looking for the visual cues from the birds to see if they're flying to the nest or if they're like making noise and telling, and like pretty much like saying, "Hey, there's something coming. There's something coming." So I'm looking for those cues to see if it leads me to a nest. So this takes many hours to do because I have to go up and down each channel to see if there's any nests along those channels. And then, depending on how big it is, how big the channel is, I either have to jump across the channel while it's low tide, or I have to walk around in order to get to the other side, to go down the other side to see what nests are along that side. And then, so why am I doing this? I'm looking at um, the species, like their species have declined in the last 100 years due to the loss of coastal marshes, and that loss, also known as habitat loss, is from sea level rise and coastal development. So my project will be focusing more so on sea level rise than coastal development. I'm doing it, looking at the videos of the nest, so I'll show you some videos. And then also sampling the arthropod community. So I'll be using sweep netting. So this picture right here is of me sweep netting. So I'm basically going through the marsh. So I will start at the nest once I find it. Once I find the nest, I'll mark it, and then from the nest, I will be doing 3 different transects of each nest to see what arthropods are available around that nest. So a transect is basically just like a path. So each path will be different. So one of my paths will be from the nest to the actual main river of the salt marsh. So the next one is from the nest, perpendicular to the river, and then going deeper into the marsh. And then the last one is from the nest and heading diagonally in a different direction, deeper into the marsh, to see how these arthropods and are changing or what's available in each of those areas. So each transect will be around 20 meters long, and I'll be trying to get roughly 150 sweeps, and that's like going back and forth across to see what's available in this nest. Now, let me show you some videos real quick so you can kind of see. So this is a short video of like me sweeping across the marsh. So you can see the grass is pretty tall, but on top of the grass is also, or under the grass is also mud. So I'm basically trying to collect and see what insects and arthropods are on those, are in the nest area, to see what they're feeding on them. So after I collect those samples, I then will put them up under a microscope. So I will put them up under a microscope. Well, actually, before I do it, I will go through the samples. So I will dump them into a sorting tray and then pick out all the arthropods and other insects to see what they are eating. So in this one, like once I go through and pick out all the arthropods, I will try to separate them by order. So here we have a couple of different orders here. So I'm looking at this up under a microscope. So I would separate them out. Like this one, like this right here is a spider order Arenae. So there's one spider, two spiders. There's three spiders up there. That's another spider. That's a fourth spider. So I'll be looking at all these different orders. And then we have ants right here. So all these ants, those are orders Hymnatra. So I'll just be breaking down order by order to see what arthropods are available in the actual nest or in the actual vicinity of the nest. Now, I already know what arthropods those orders are. But for the longest time when I didn't know, I had to use a key. So I will show you that key in a second. So this is what it looks like after I break down them all to different orders. So these are all flies. So these are the order Diptera. And I'll kind of show, let me find the key real quick, and I will show you I will show you how I look through. All right, so this is a dichotomous key. So it basically helps me to break down what I'm seeing in order to get it to a into the individual orders. So the key, it lets me know like what different parts of the insects are. So all insects have three different body parts. They have the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. And then each insect order has different characteristics that allows me to be able to identify what insect order it is. So this is a grasshopper right here. So like for this, I can look at it and say, okay, it has two wings. It has a fore wing and a hind wing, and it's attached to the thorax. Or I can say, or I can look at it and say, okay, looking at the leg, it has three tarsus. But let me zoom back out. So I will go through a key for the flies real quick. All right, so let's say we got all these insects and we're not sure what they are. So I would go through this key. So the first thing it says, 1A is without wings, all the abdominal segments visible in top view of the insect. So I'll go back and look at the flies. So we're looking at this, we can see that they do have wings. So from there, we'll go down. I'll go down to this 1B. With wings, wings may be different to see because the flying wings are hidden by hard wings covers. As with beetles, in this case, the wing cover slides over the back and hide all the parts of the abdomen. So if that's the case, they do have wings. So I would go to number 17. Okay, so then 17A says, with only one pair of wings, the hind pair reduce to small structures that resemble golf tees. So then I'll go back and look at my picture. So it only has one set of wings. So since it only has one set of wings, like I know that it's a fly and it's order Diptera. So let me go back to this. So order Diptera are the true flies. So they only have one set of wings. And then the small structure that resemble golf tees, those are called howitries. I don't think I have a good picture for those, but let me see if this one's better. All right, so this was what it looks like up under microscope. So you can't really see the howitries, which are things that look like golf tees. They're like back here, but you can see that it only has one set of wings. And like knowing what insects are, they have 3 different body parts, like I said. So they have the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. And insects have 6 different, or have 6 legs. So we'll be counting the legs as missing a leg, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's missing one. But I'll go through that key for all the arthropods that are in the sample. So I'll go through the keys for first for the insects, and then the arthropods. I would go through to see what other orders or arthropods are there. So like I said, I would go through the spiders to see which ones are there. But for all the other insects that are available, so like these Pleiotra are beetles. So I would go through and count all the beetles. Or these right here. The green ones are hemp notcher, because they're I like to remember like hemp notcher because like a hypodermic needle. These have sucking mouth parts, so they're able to pierce plants, or if they're animal, if they eat other animals, they will pierce to suck the other organisms, blood and body fluids. So that's how I remember hemp notcher. But I would go through all of these different orders using the different Geocompass keys to see. So after I do that, next I will go through the nest videos. So each nest that I find, I will put a camera on the nest to see what the parent is bringing back to the offspring. Now, this first video is going to be pretty fast, so I'll show it to you. So that is in real time. And what I have to do is actually slow the video down in order to get a glimpse of what it is. Now, sometimes it's pretty decent pictures like that. Like that one I know it's Katie did, but other times it's video pictures like this. So this is Seaside Sparrow nestling right here. All right, so this is slowed down, but even with being slowed down, like that's not really a decent picture. So I had to go through hours of video just to see which one is going to give me a decent view to be able to see what insect or other arthropod that these nestlings are being fed. So it takes hours upon hours to see this. And a cool thing about this, like, is that the nestling like knows when the parent's coming back and automatically like open its mouth in order to receive that food. And lastly, this is just a progression of what I go through in order to see what they're eating. So like I said, first I pick through all the samples to see what samples are available in the marsh, and then I go through and break it down into different sorting trays. So all the flies on the right, Diptera, um, and then on the left is different pieces. But right here it's a pseudoscorpion, which is order Arenidae. So with the spiders, so arachnids. So I go through all of that to see what they're bringing what's available for them to eat, and then I watch the videos to see what they're actually eating and compare what they are eating to what's available in order to understand the arthropod community for them. Do you guys have any questions?
No, there are no questions. I mean, I guess I did have a question as far as it's interesting. So when you it's interesting to me that the anthropods, they're dead when you're observing them in the petri dish, right?
Yes, yes. So after I sample, they all go into the freezer to manually pick them down, and then I look through them while they're dead. I mean, you don't want them like crawling around and out. And then they also like help preserve their integrity by killing them off. If you were to like not like you kill them eventually, um, because they're all in the same bag together after sampling. A lot of the arthropods are also predators, so they will eat what's in the bag with them. So in order for me to be able to have like a good concept what's available, I need to be able to see what's all available and not let the other arthropods eat any other members that's in the bag. So I immediately try to freeze them, or depending on how big the sample is, I'll put them in alcohol. If there's no arthropods or insects that have like scales, so like butterflies have scales on them. So as you put them in alcohol, the scales will fall off. So you don't want to put them in alcohol, so you are able to identify them later on. So you want to go ahead and freeze those. So I just go ahead and freeze them, and then later on, after I sort through them, I try to sort through them within 24 hours. I'll put the ones that can go in alcohol, so I can store them that way.
Okay, interesting. So when you catch them, they're alive, but through the different mechanisms that you just mentioned, they kind of get to that stage where.
Yes, yeah. They get to the stage where they're easily able to manipulate and sort them out.
Very interesting. And so I wanted to hear also, as far as what draws you, what STEM skills draw you to the field. Particularly when you were younger, was observation something that you really enjoyed, or you work in a lot of environments when you're doing the field work that are, dirty and messy. So was being able to actually put your hands to these science things, something that stuck out to you when you were younger as well, and then how has that evolved throughout your education and different career experiences?
Yeah, so when I was younger, observation of the natural world was what really got me until loving science and biology. I used to get.
Can you come closer to the screen?
Now.
Yeah, we can hear you better when you're
Okay,
closer.
yeah, so my observations is definitely one of the things that got me really interested into the outdoors and natural resources. Like growing up, I was fortunate enough to actually have like a creek in my yard, and then also I actually had a yard in general. So I would get in trouble because I would take forever to cut the grass because I was looking at the animals that was running away from the lawnmower, trying to catch them, catch like the frogs and snakes that were running away from the lawnmower. Or when I went fishing, like I would always be looking at the red-tailed hawks flying over and the great blue herons that were fishing right next to me, catching more fish than I am. So those are kind of like some of the moments that got me into nature. And like a funny story is like I used to play baseball, and I would not pay attention to what was going on in the game because I was looking at the ant hills that were right next to me and actually watching the baseball. That those skills, like being able to like for those observation and animal handling skills. Like before, like I was doing it just to do it, just to catch these animals. But now, like I'm able to trap and handle these animals as a way for me to learn more about them. So that skill transferred from just doing it for fun to now doing it for my knowledge, but also getting paid to do it. It's definitely something that I'm thankful that I'm able to work in a career that is a passion for me. So being able to have like the observational skills and then the wildlife and animal handling, and then like also just like it's still an observational skill, but just learning and knowing the different bird calls and the sights of the bird, and knowing like which birds are like raptors, which birds are wading birds, and to have that be able to like be outside and do that in the field is amazing. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. So my last question is, as far as advice that you would give to you, if this is something that interests them, is there anything that they should be doing now while they're in, whatever grade they're in? Um, and when it comes to college, what opportunities. I don't know why I can't say opportunities. What opportunities they should seek out too. Because even from what we saw with your presentation, you did a lot while also studying, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So advice
Yeah.
for
Yeah, I would say some of the, especially as a early like student, like go ahead and try to like get some volunteer opportunities, or even like if there's a farm near you, get like animal handling experience while you can. Um, there's a lot of different orgs out there where you can find out like if you're interested in birds. There's if you're interested in birds, there's a lot of different orgs that can plug you in with local birders that you can join and like see if that's really your interest. And then as a older student, like I would say, go ahead and like reach out to a lot of the zoos and aquariums. They have either volunteer positions, or if you're older, like around 18 or so, they have like jobs you can actually apply for to get that experience that you need. Many of the positions I have, I think I was fortunate enough to get because I already had that animal handling experience, whether it's for whether it was for working at different farms, or if it was learning and trapping animals in the class. But also, I would say go ahead and like fine tune your passions, like find out what you're passionate about, and definitely don't be afraid to like shoot your shot. Like when I went for the National Park Service sea turtle job, like I had never actually worked with sea turtles. I just interpreted them, bought them behind glass enclosure. That I shot my shot and I got the position. And I think that one of the things that did help me was like being confident in what I knew, but also some of my previous experience on working with animals, and then also when I work with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, I got a lot of field experience that was easily able to transfer over into the sea turtle position. So a lot of the experience you want to get is skills that are transferable, so you're able to use it in multiple different um, assets or in like communication skills. Like you need that through school, but also communicating to your bosses, your coworkers, but also to the public. Um, Also, like flexibility, like working with wildlife, you got to be flexible, knowing that everything doesn't happen exact time. Like sometimes the tide is higher than it's supposed to be, so you have to wait it out. Or other times, like working with bats, like sometimes it's you're waking up early in the morning, and for the first couple of days you don't get any bats. So then you have to see like what are you doing? Are you trapping in the right spot, or is something like discouraging the bats from using that route? So you have to be flexible and figure that out, and also problem solve in order to switch that up. So you definitely want to like have all these transferable skills like communication, flexibility, problem solving. You also want to have like motivation too, in order to do these things. And then like for me, like one of the skills that I'm not that good at that still works. Like I suck at math. That you don't have to be great. You don't have to be great at math to be a scientist. There is math involved, but there's also um, different tools to help you with that math, and also many times you'll be working with others. So maybe your some screw isn't math, and someone else on your team is. So you can like give them help you out, or you can like offer like okay, maybe they'll do the like statistical analysis for you, and you'll do another portion that they're not good at. So you definitely want to like make sure you know your strengths, but also your weaknesses. Don't let them like hinder you. If you can improve upon like maybe some of your weakness that you're not really good at. Maybe you're not good at identifying snakes or identify any animal really. That there's tons of field guides out there that you can read in order to get your animal identification up. So don't just like say, "Oh, I'm not good at this, so I'm just gonna let it go." But if you know you're not good at it, like find ways to improve on it and help yourself out.
Those were some really awesome last points. So with that being said, we're going to be wrapping up now. Takiwa, did you want to speak first?
I just want to thank Alex again for making time and teaching us about your work. And I didn't even know you did so much. I knew about the birds. It was like he's pretty much handled a lot of different animals all over the world. So thank you for sharing the diversity of experience in your videos out in the field. I did have one quick question. So when you sweep, everything that goes in your net, do the birds eat all of that, or that's just what they have available to eat?
Yeah, so that's what they have available to eat through what's available in the marsh. They are most of them are eating like only six orders of arthropods. So what I have is generally more than what they'll eat. but a lot of it is something that they could potentially eat. So it's just the best way is to sweep this, get everything that's in the marsh. So like I'm not just looking at what they're eating, but I'm also looking at everything, like all the arthropods that are in the vicinity of the nest or in the marsh, to see what's um, available and to also like have a good sampling of the community of the entire marsh.
Thank you so much. So I just want to thank everyone for coming to our STEM in the City workshop. We learned so much from you, Alex, and we really hope that you inspired someone who likes to be outside and likes to watch animals and likes to handle animals to follow in your career path because it's so necessary. And there are people like me that don't like them at all. And so we need people like you to study them. And I'm going to let Carlin say our last words before we go.
Can I say one more thing real quick?
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Also, if you're an older student,
Wait, come closer so we can hear you.
If you're an older student, there's a lot of different opportunities out there for high schoolers and even like early college students. I can share those with you guys. But there's like YCC, which is the Youth Conservation Corps, and it's a federal internship where you can work with a different federal agency, so like the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service or National Park Service, as a high schooler to get that experience that that you want. So there's that, and then also like for later in life, there's a Student Conservation Association for like high school graduates where you can get experience. They have experiences for like as a team. They call it corps. So you can go maybe do like trail building and trail maintenance, do chainsaw work, and then there's others that are individual placements that you get partnered with an agency and you go throughout the summer to learn what the agency is about and get exposure to that. And many of those experiences, especially with the Student Conservation Association, those experiences can give you if you do it, depending on how long you do it, I think it's like a year. If you do it like in total a year, like it doesn't have to be like 1 year. It could be like 3 months here, 4 months throughout a time frame. If you do it for a total of a year or so, like you actually get a competitive advantage in order to be hired over someone who graduates with college with just a bachelor's degree and no other experience. But you have this competitive hiring authority, you're able to be what is it? You're able to be looked before those people who just have a bachelor's. So say you have the same grade, the same experience, but you have this SCA or even AmeriCorps experience. So you have that competitive hiring authority in order to be competitive and not have to compete with the people who just have a bachelor's degree. So you'll be in a different bracket for them. So a lot of those experiences have different perks like that that you can look into. I can send the link for some of those to you guys.
Okay. Let's put it in the chat. Thank you.
So, in closing, Alex has a wealth of knowledge that I'm sure that he would agree that he's received from all the experiences that he's had. And so we know that it is so important for youth to get involved however they can in that thing that they're passionate about. So we definitely appreciate you sharing those last resources, the tips that you shared throughout the presentation, and how you approach your research and your jobs. With that being said, we have put a survey in the comments and the chat box. And so, if you really enjoy hearing from these STEM experts, from the tips and the resources that they share. It is very helpful for us if you can fill out the survey, and you can even suggest, what future topics you want to see. So with all that being said, we thank you for joining us for this month's STEM in the City, and we look forward to coming back for our STEM in the City in May.